This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Are you sorry? Are you heartily sorry for all of your sins? Well, it doesn't matter. For now is the time of your just punishments. Welcome, dear penitents. Welcome once again to Just Punishments. I am your host, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my skinny, rich friend.
It's Mozz.
But tonight's episode, Season 2, Episode 9, Flustercluck. A big bounty inspires New York's worst to pursue the Punisher. A restless Amy seeks help from a fellow grifter. Russo and Krista consider the future. Tonight's episode, our director is Sally Richardson Whitfield. Of course, Jerry Conway, John Romita Sr., and Ross Andrew get our Marvel Created By credits. Steve Lightfoot gets, of course, our show Created By credit. Our writers tonight are Mr. Lightfoot himself, Steve Lightfoot again, alongside Ken Christensen. Angela Lamanna, of course, is our story editor. And again, doing double duty, hardest working man in show business, the person that Angela gets the boss around, Ken Christensen, our story editor again. He is both gets a written by and a story editor credit for this one. So good for Ken. We're proud of you, Ken. You're doing great. This episode opens up with Frank coming back, if I recall correctly. Yeah, he comes back, and
I love like she immediately turns and she's immediately grabs the gun and like Frank says, yo, she's about to turn you in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like her loyalty in that moment is unshakable. Whatever happened, but when it counts, it's like boom, that's the enemy. I loved it.
Well, or she just realizes that, Frank's the one that actually could kill everyone in this room.
That's also true. That's also true.
Maybe I should, we can all talk about betrayal while Frank's not here, but if he's back, well, I'm not getting in on that. Anyway, yes, so, but yeah, she says, Madani's looking to sell you out, and they do have their back and forth on this, but, Frank, it seems relatively unfazed by this, and still makes his point that, had a talk, with Maria, and she says it's okay. Which I don't know if that's really the answer you want, but I guess that's sort of the one they're gonna get, they're gonna accept what this situation is, because at the end of the day, it's not like any of them really can bring in the Punisher right now. So as far as Mahoney goes, it's like there's not a lot we can do here. And we still need to deal with Russo. And that really, because Mahoney will take the Punisher or Russo. They know they need Russo, that Russo's the real danger. And so there's no real point in giving up Frank right now if we can still run the possibility of taking care of Russo.
Right.
Well, and of course, then we see that basically Russo and his gang have also turned up the fire. They're doing just as Russo promised, and they're basically, honestly, I gotta say, this is one of these weird aspects of this, because I would think they would be a lot more concerned by the local criminal groups that there's some new gang that's trying to knock everybody over.
Right.
Because Frank, they figure out, they must be, they're hitting all of these things in a certain area. They must have a home base there, but not for nothing. It seems like they're not being that quiet about it either.
Right. It almost seems like they're doing what the Punisher himself was aiming to do. They're just taking out, gangster dens or whatever and robbing them. So the only difference is they're actually doing it for their own profit.
Well, yeah. Well, and not for nothing. I mean, Frank always took the money,
I guess that's true too.
Battle vans don't buy themselves, So yeah. In fact, the very first episode we see
Right.
when he kills the kitchen Irish, and you see him walking out with a big bag of money too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's what we're getting here. You know, they're going on their rampage and they're having their wild parties at night at Valhalla,
Mhm.
which I find a very interesting aspect of the whole story, especially when we do finally get Pilgrim's super secret origin story at the end,
Hmm.
because the the gang that, because essentially what happens is, so anyway, before we get to that, but the fact that Billy Russo is embracing this Valhalla ideal, it informs that secondary story, because at the same time you have Pilgrim going out, reaching out to people to put the bounty on the Punisher's head. And of course, in this we do see, the was it the Schultzes? We see the father essentially first meeting with Pilgrim to tell him, this is what we have to do, and you're being strong for your family and yada yada yada. And then, and he has said, this is a very tempting place, and I shouldn't. It's very hard for me to be the man I am now when I'm here, which we will see later is absolutely true. Um, but he goes and shakes up his old contacts, and when he meets this one guy, and of course the guy makes the point that, oh yeah, I'm just disappointed you didn't come to us first. And he plays that this is their first meeting, but after after Pilgrim leaves, he obviously calls up his boss and says, I just had a ghost walk in here. And what's interesting in that is, at first you could overlook that if you were thinking, oh, he's talking because he was talking about going after the Punisher, who everyone thought was dead. But clearly he's talking about Pilgrim, and we do see later when he calls up Pilgrim to come and speak with him about what he's found out for him. Meanwhile, we have uh, two other stories going on here. We have Amy uh, ringing up her old friend, because basically after everyone has left Amy there, because Curtis says, what, I can't leave my vets group behind. These people need me.
Yeah,
And
because Amy counterproductively convinces him that Frank is only looking out for himself and we are just the staff, as she puts it. So he's like, you know what? Screw this. I don't have to sit here and beat staff. There's people that actually count on me and care about my presence, so I got to go there.
oh yeah,
And she's like, wait a second, where are you going? Did my big mouth just talk you out of,
well, I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of it is this is how she feels,
Yeah.
and she wants out. That's the thing. Now, but they're all going to tell her to
Mm,
stay. If anything, she
right.
probably wanted to go with him,
Mm.
but when he tells her to stay, she's like, you know what? There's no reason for me to stay either. And she calls up her old friend to get a score. Um, and of course, as happens, everyone, because there is this bounty out,
Mm.
you know, her friend sells her out.
I mean, it's $5 million, and she didn't seem like she knew her that well.
Yeah, well, exactly. They were coworkers. They
Right.
were both in the same gang. And the other girl doesn't even know that their former Fagin got iced. So
Right.
that's like they clearly have not been staying in touch. But this is just a resource for her. This is a place she knows she can score. Um, Meanwhile, back in the jungle, Frank
There's a
has.
great scene with the Schultz and his son.
Oh yeah.
Oof, that was interesting.
Well, yeah, because Schultz is a man obsessed. He and his son wants to just live his life, but he doesn't feel he can because he is
I
being
just
controlled.
Right. Just the brazenness with which he talks about the fact that he's gay and he wants to come out and there's like times have changed and just like, no, we're good Christians. God wouldn't have gifted. And it's the same sort of,
Oh yeah,
I guess that's where Pilgrim gets that training of seeing every fruitfulness coming from your bad deeds and taking that as a sign for God's hand on you,
well
where that
exactly.
comes from
Yeah,
exactly from him
which is
preaching it to.
it's just ridiculous. I mean,
Right,
it's
of
just a
course.
ridiculous way to look
But
at the
it's
world.
it's what a cult leader would do.
Well, yeah, and if not for nothing, it just speaks of insane amounts of privilege. Well, if
Yeah,
God didn't want me to be rich, I wouldn't be rich.
right.
Which is it's taking the wrong lesson from the Book of Job is what that is.
Mm,
The lesson of the Book of Job was that God does not favor you or disfavor you. You should be a good follower of God regardless. But nope, they're in it for the money. You know
right, right.
that's their take on it. But yeah, and he's clearly a cruel father, emotionally cruel and emotionally distant. Though honestly, it's one of these weird things where you have a villain like this where he's approaching his son, but he's not like grinding his son down. He's just
Mm,
telling him no, you can't. And then his son is making the choice that I don't like it, but this is the outcome that I can accept. Because if I don't
right.
accept this outcome, I'm cut
I have
off. I have all these other problems, and you know, because obviously his father has opened a lot of doors for him. You
yeah.
know, although one has to imagine that he doesn't have any younger brothers, because it's not like there's someone else down the line that they could go grab and
Right,
likewise
right,
position. Um,
right.
but yeah, the whole thing about wanting to come out and like maybe people won't care that, and it's like which
That's not the America I want to build. That's what he's saying. Like,
yeah,
I don't want that to be okay. And that's what's really so diabolical and so like the flippantness with which he says that. That's not the America we're building. That's like hardcore, like gut punch, you know? And that sort of makes me think like, hopefully, I don't know how many episodes we have left, but maybe if this was a spy novel, that's the guy they would try to turn, you know?
yeah. Well, I don't think anyone's getting turned in this. I think
Right.
I think in our best luck is that most likely. I mean, I don't know yet, but my wager is that the dad is going to get shot. Pilgrim is going to get shot. Billy
Mm,
Russo maybe doesn't get shot yet. Maybe he still gets put back in another coma or just goes to jail.
right.
Maybe meets up with Vincent D'Onofrio. We don't know.
Right.
Mm. Fun fact: Vincent D'Onofrio says that the cast is all set to start doing Daredevil on Disney Plus. So,
Hey,
yeah, well,
so
no
they
one's
can
asked
film it
him yet,
now?
but
Well,
he's
fair
yeah,
enough.
yeah, no one's asked him yet, but he's like, yeah, man, I would love to come back. This is a great
Of
role.
course.
I love it, and I can't wait to. I certainly hope we get to play it with them, and everyone I know on the cast is ready to go. Um, and I think they are. This is a pretty big deal. This is a pretty big story. But getting back to our story, we have Madani and Krista meeting as well in this. Among our wait, is this yeah? This is the one with Madani and
Yep.
Krista meeting. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, where Krista has reached out to Madani and definitely gives the impression that she's worried about Russo.
See, now it's either one or two things. I thought it's either Russo and her concocted a plan to some end, and she's working together with Russo, and that's why she called her. Or the other side of it is maybe that's her psycho girlfriend, jealous girlfriend vibe taking over, and maybe she wants to kill Madani or hurt
Yes,
her.
yes,
So
because
it's one of those.
well, I mean, we get the answer by the end of it.
Mm,
And honestly, I actually think that it's a little from column A, a little from column B. Because when she
mm,
first calls her, I really did think it was the psycho girlfriend angle. Because we did see that she was uncomfortable with the fact that Russo went and visited her last episode,
Right.
and that you could see from the way that the actress portrayed it that was not cool in her mind. But
Right.
we also see in this that after Madani leaves, that Russo comes out and she turns to him and says, "I know how you can defeat Frank Castle." So clearly they were both in it, and
Right.
she obviously no longer sees Madani as a threat.
Right. Right. See,
Um,
this is the part that I had a problem with. This whole, like, it felt like it was going to be such an emotional crescendo for him to find out, that he was the reason that Frank is mad, that he's the one that's actually at fault. And the quickness with which he gets over that guilt and finds his way to anger and revenge was just too quick for me, because they took so much time and they paced his descent into madness so well, or at least his sense of drowning and trying to find little pieces of ice to step out back onto. And now they have like this great moment, and I felt like they squandered it. He spent like maybe 30 seconds in that moment, like recognizing his true self, and then just was back out again into his new. I thought it was a little bit of a missed opportunity.
well, yeah, but again, and again, we probably should have talked about this in the last episode. But because he confronted her in the last episode, right? Yes. Yeah.
Right, but that was on a whole different issue. This is the episode where he finds out that that he killed
I thought
Frank's. No, he confronts her out of the blue in the last episode, just like, "Hey, you lied to me. You knew about Frank."
No. That he confronted Madani. Didn't he confront Madani last episode?
This episode.
And I'm sorry, or that was this episode?
Yeah,
Okay.
he confronts Madani this episode, and she tells him it's because you. But she doesn't quite put it that way. She says you were responsible. So they didn't make it too clear when she says it to him.
Yeah.
But he seems to think that, and I think he gets over the guilt of that moment too easily.
Well, again, this goes to the fact that he is a sociopath at his core, and essentially it's one of these ideas like, well, if I did it, then I must have had a very good reason to.
Right.
And there's a character by the name of John Walker in the comic books where there's this whole storyline where he realizes he's had his memory wiped, and he goes and he tracks down who did the memory wipe, and they basically say, "You asked us to wipe your memory. You said you didn't want to have these memories." And after that, he says, "Oh, okay, that makes sense," and then just walks out of the room. Because once it's like, "Oh, okay, I just need to know who did it. That's all." Then I know. Oh, I wiped my memory of all this stuff, of these horrible things I did to former friends of mine. It's like, oh, okay, but I just needed to fill in the dots. So, yeah, I kind of see that in a bit of Russo's quick recovery, and the fact, because like I said, I think in his mind, it's like, well, if I did it, I must have had a good reason.
I don't know. I just feel like for entertainment purposes and from the perspective of an actor having a juicy moment to lay into, that would have been a really good one. And it seemed like it was naturally building up to that moment being important because they laid all this track work, building up the tension. Oh, my God, he doesn't know. Oh, my God, he doesn't know. Wait till he finds out he killed his best friend's family. Oh, and then, we're done. I was like, all right.
I think if maybe had Frank told him that, if Frank had that moment with him, I think it might have had a more emotional impact. That it's Madani telling him that, because he does say, "Oh, that can't be right," But so I think he distances himself from it in some way or another. That gives him the ability to be at peace with it. But meanwhile, Frank has I do love when he does kill one of the members of the gang, then cuts off his thumb so he can open the phone again.
and I kept thinking to myself, you opened it once. I mean, like, my thought in that moment was the one thing you could do is go to settings and change it so that you don't have the thumbprint. Or you could just take the thumb with him.
Yeah,
and then later on, it's like, oh, okay. He just took the thumb with him.
Yeah, well, if nothing else, it makes for a good visual intimidation tool.
Indeed.
And this is where the Punisher does find out that there's a bounty on his head, because he goes to the woman. And again, this is where I say it's like it doesn't seem like these guys are being that secretive about what they're doing. They're a very poorly organized group,
They all have masks though. That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, well that's the look. That's our gang, man.
Yeah.
That's how you know what gang we're in. You gotta have a gang, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, but with the girl, basically he tells him up, but she's like, look, I don't know. It was dark. It was in a warehouse somewhere around 14th Street, But then as Frank walks out, he gives, and he tells him that, oh, it's a guy that Tony knows,
Hmm.
and he gives Tony the tip, as he says. But then as Frank walks out, six other guys walk out behind him, and goes down the alley, and then realizes that he's not down the alley, and then he circled back and he confronts them, and they all draw their guns, and they're like, okay.
Yeah. That was such a cool move, though, because it's like he doesn't walk into the alley and then allow them to be behind him, closing off his exit. He hides, lets them, draws them into the alley, and then closes their exit.
Well, exactly. Yeah, well, it's a classic move. It's definitely what the Punisher would do. And I don't know if he went up and around or if he did just hide somewhere when they first walked in.
Maybe he just did. Maybe that's how he got them to walk down the alley. He did the move that Amy was trying to do. He, hid in the corner and tossed something in that end, and they just followed.
Yeah, something like that. But but I love that you're like, what are you gonna do? There's six of us, and then as he's saying that, he just draws his gun and drops them all. Because gun has 8 shots at least.
Yeah. And if you haven't drawn your gun yet, it's not a good sign.
Yeah. Well, they actually had their guns drawn, but actually that is a aspect of just reflexes.
Right.
First off, the one guy is still talking, which is
Yeah.
distracting to everyone else, and the actual nerve reactions of the elbow and shoulder are faster than the finger. So if you actually have your gun drawn against the quick draw artist, as they say, you actually have a bit of a disadvantage because you've got to react with just the finger, whereas there's an entire fluid motion that's going on with the guy who's drawing the gun. So.
Right, but if you shoot first when nobody has decided to shoot yet, then you have an incredible advantage.
Well, exactly,
because
and of course,
second shot before they're reacting to shoot their first one.
Exactly.
You ever see that movie Equilibrium with Christian Bale?
No.
Sci-fi movie from back in the day. It reminded me a lot of the basic premise of that movie was in the future these cops have this martial art that is, instead of hand-to-hand combat, it's gun combat. So basically it's this set of movements that are designed to predict perfectly, statistically speaking, what the other person or the other group of people are going to do so you can be in the perfect position and take, multiple guys out at once. So that's what it kind of looked like. Dips and dodges and gets everybody out before they have a chance to react. It reminded me of that movie.
Well, that's very cool. Well, and that's what he did. He kills the guys, finds out that there's the bounty on their head, goes to get Amy, and that is a scene and especially because Amy realizes what's going on. I'm not even sure how Amy knew. Because all that really happens is she gets her book bag, she sees the pictures are still there.
Or that they have been ruffled through. Because he calls her and tells her that there's a bounty on her head. How much do you trust your friend? And then she walks out and says, oh my God, my bag has been ruffled through, So she's like, okay, she definitely knows. And obviously, as soon as she knows that there is a bounty, you gotta know that if she's been making calls, she's heard. And if she's the kind of person I think she is, I'm in trouble, know?
And definitely. And she does her own little, and again, does the hide, draws them out. Or I think she runs upstairs while they're running in, and said because she couldn't have passed us going downstairs. So, and she's just trying to find another open door, which is, who's going to leave their apartment unlocked in New York City?
I mean, really.
Yeah. But she does hide out in the janitor's closet. But then, of course, Frank, who has figured out where she is, he calls her? Does he call her or?
Well,
no,
yeah,
that's right. She texts him because he kept on trying to call her and was ignoring her. And she texts him her address to let her know that she's in trouble. And and Frank just coming up basically killing all the mooks, as you do.
Mm.
But what I love in this is
Yeah.
she does that move that Frank taught her.
Right.
Guy's got the gun. This is the move. And then she does what Frank told her. You just took a gun from a guy who was going to shoot you. She shoots him. And again, he's talking and she shoots.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
And
but I think that moment, it not only reflects the initial time that he taught her the move, but it also, I think, it reflects that moment where he took her down and put the gun to her face. That moment, I think she needed both of those in order to act properly in this situation and to take avail of what was available to her to survive in that moment. She needed both of those moments, the technical knowledge and the emotional resonance of that moment to say, oh my God, it's me or him. Boom,
And for what it's worth, further on top of that is just the fact that you see immediately how much it freaks her out after she does it. She hasn't even killed the guy yet. As Frank says, you didn't kill him, he's fine. Boom, there. See, I just killed him. You didn't kill anyone.
What a sweet thing. What a sweet, adorable moment. He's like, you didn't kill him, you just shot him. Boom, there. And immediately you see that takes a tremendous load off of her eyes in that moment.
Yeah.
I think those are really, really, for what they are, it was an cute and adorable moment.
Yes.
She's the daughter he deserved, or
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's the daughter he winds up with in this season. We'll see if she sticks around.
Well, for that moment, at least, they shared that moment, and that was powerful.
It was powerful. It's actually very lovely. I actually hope she doesn't die before the end of this. That would be awful.
Oh God, no, they can't do that.
Oh, they could. I mean, let me put it to you this way: when I read the description of the final episode, and it just says, bullets will fly, no bullet will be spared in the final episode.
But just look at that shootout in the last episode.
Yeah.
I mean, like, these guys they have got to be part-time bad guys and part-time cops, because on the other end, they have a second job as stormtroopers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
None of them can shoot worth a damn. That sniper was completely worthless. So I think she'll be all right. No matter how many bullets fly, she'll be all right. They came close to killing somebody was the woman in the first episode or the second episode, and they didn't even kill her. So I think she'll be all right.
But speaking of stormtroopers, we do get Pilgrim's big reveal, and when the guy and you find out that basically this is an Aryan Nation group that he was a part of, because you see he rolls up the street and you see I think it's 14, which is I believe that's because it's, what is it, A B C D E F G H, yeah, but it's like, it's supposed to be like Hail Hitler or something. It's one of these codes, but these are all like white supremacist codes that are on. And we saw, as he says, there was that basically his truck broke down, met someone who didn't like his tattoos and didn't like his politics, suggesting that basically, he was marked as this white supremacist and got actually beaten the heck up for it, and then found him.
Didn't he say he killed a guy, though? That guy ended up dead?
Yeah, but I think he was left for dead, too. I think basically you should see the other guy. But as I understood it, he got pretty messed up in that, too, and then he got saved, as it were, by the Schultzes. The Schultzes sort of brought him in, realizing what a advantage he could be. But we don't get to see the resolution to this. That's next episode. But we basically see that, basically, and not for nothing, he ran off with, like, what they say, $1 million of their money.
Right.
So, not for nothing, just right there, just the fact that they took $1 million from them, that's worthy of them, regardless of anything else. They're not particularly pleased with this gentleman.
Right. Which makes me think, if he had $1 million, why would he need the help of the Schultzes? Unless they were behind whatever happened to them initially.
I'm not, well, I guess we'll have to see. Maybe they'll explain that.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, $1 million doesn't go that far, especially if you're kind of
That's fair.
If you're a Rough Rider. And even if you got to hang on to it, for all we know, someone took it while he was convalescing.
True.
There's lots of things that could have happened there. But yeah, I love that scene just because first off, it is this. First of it seems like very gregarious. Although anyone who's ever seen any mob film knows when you're in a restaurant alone with some guy who's clearly a boss of something, his gregariousness is not your friend, and but basically was obviously someone had come up with him in this group, and yeah, we don't see how that ends yet, but
Yeah.
we do find out what Pilgrim's backstory is finally, so that's exciting.
Yeah, I feel like he wouldn't have walked in there. He's too smart to have walked in there without knowing what was going to happen, and he has to have a plan in mind. But I was wondering if that look in his face, like what that meant. Did he sort of in that moment resign himself to the fight to say, okay, this is going to be rough. I'm probably going to get hurt a lot, but I have to kill all these people. Like, is that what you think he was thinking? Or was he thinking, you're doing exactly what I came here to do. Now it's time to kill everybody.
I actually think that there is a possibility that he was not familiar with exactly who this guy was associated with, because they make the point that he didn't recognize him because he was just a kid at the club, which is obviously a different club than this one.
Gotcha,
so maybe
gotcha.
he knows as he's putting out the words, this is one of the boxes to check, but doesn't necessarily know that this is a guy who's going to recognize him and know who he is. Although possibly there is an aspect of this where maybe he feels, in order to actually absolve myself of my past sins, I will need to confront this group I was once a part of. So
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Lots of possibilities. Good news is Amy and Punisher got out of their troubles together, and then they have to plan what they're gonna do to go get Billy next episode. Dun dun dun. Okay. In the meantime, Mozz, if people would like to talk to you about what bars they would walk into without a plan to get out of, how can they find you?
They can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email, whether we're on Mozz and Pause instead, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which me and Mozz will be talking about over on the Nuff Said channel later. Follow my tweets at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
Ding!
For quality. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, penitents, you have endured the trials that we have set before you. You are absolved of all of your sins, but you may go in peace and sin no more. But when you do sin, return right here for your next round of just punishments. Good night.